what have you guys learned? Like, what would you tell? I want to do it from parents' perspective, like Christian parents or pastors, if they're watching this video. Speak directly to them. What would you say? And then even to people in your shoes, like, Matt, I would love to hear, like, what have you learned from this? Matt Moore, what have you learned from this? And what would you tell somebody that is in your position, whether it's a pastor's kid or a Christian kid under, strict rules and restrictions? And what would you say to somebody like that? So speak to the kids first, and then let's talk about what would you do differently.
I can start if you want. Sure. For me, it would be about shame, like with the kids, is shame is not from God, and it's probably not from your parents either. And honestly, a lot of times it's not even from your church. It is straight up from the enemy. And wow. I know we talk about like the church, and it's so hard, and people judging, and a lot of it came from outside the church too. And yes, there's always gonna be a few. You don't get to pick who your church is, who's in your church, I should say. And those little comments are really hard, and you hang on to them. But I had to really see it's not my church. We have an amazing church family and supportive, and people that have encouraged me from near and far in so many ways, and all of us in different ways.
We are deeply loved.
Crazy. And they've seen us go through a lot, but it just, you have to understand that I felt so much shame. I still battle so much shame. And that is just straight up not from any of those people. And that is going to be the enemy coming at your heart and your mental position to bring you down. The Lord is not a condemner. He's going to convict you, and there are going to be, consequences and conviction if you believe in the Lord to what your actions are. And that's normal. You should embrace that and know that this is God's love for you. But when it comes to that shame and I can't tell anybody, nobody's going to love me anymore. I remember writing in my journal weeks, maybe a couple months ago, I use some different language, but I'm just the screw up of the family. I have to accept that. And then a couple days later, I was like,
I passed that baton to you at that point.
Thank you. But a couple days later, I was like, that is so not my Lord. That is so not my faith.
That's right.
That is the enemy attacking my faith and myself and my identity and who Christ has called me to be. So to pastors' kids, to Christians' kids, it's just that shame, you just tell it to get out. That is not from your parents. You need to love them and know that they are not shaming you, even if there's been a comment here and there. They're unconditionally loving you, as well as your church family, your siblings, your Lord. I know none of those things come from him, and sometimes it just takes a conversation with myself out loud that is the devil, because I have a calling on my life. You have a calling on your life where, like you said in that video, you can't outrun the call of God. I definitely probably tried, but I know God has a calling on my life, but that distraction and the depression and the anxiety and the shame, that's not of God. And to just really focus on, get help. Personally, I have my parents, I have a mentor, I have a counselor, and I have a pastor that I meet with, because I need all of those things. They help me in so many different perspectives to just, and besides my parents, obviously, none of them are in this state. None of them have the same last name as me. It's my safe place of where I can go to them and say, this is what I feel horrible about. This is what I'm feeling. This is the shame. And they just walk me through that process. Whereas before I was this old, 27, I did it all by myself. There was no safe place to deal with my shame, because it ate me alive, literally. So that would be my biggest takeaway, is just, I had to really, it took me probably this whole year and longer, but this year for me is realizing that shame is just from the devil to take me off track. And he does sometimes, don't feel guilty about that, but it's just a spiral, and to kind of just fight to reel yourself back in.
What would you guys say? Somebody in your position, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I'm gonna cry on this one. I think one second. I want to talk to people, if you guys deal with anger, because that's probably the biggest thing that I struggled with. I think struggling with so much anger inside of you is very easy to be misunderstood, because you look like the bad guy a lot of the times. And really that's just, if I felt sad or I felt frustrated or confused or anxious or whatever I felt, for some reason it just manifested in anger. And that is an outward expression that can hurt other people. And so, like I said, you look like the bad guy, and it looks like you're not hurting. It looks like you're just hurting other people for no reason. And I've grown so much in it, like, I wouldn't even cry. I don't even, like years ago, if they asked me to do this video, I'd be like, no, because I'd sit here and I'd be silent, and I'd be mad, and it wouldn't be constructive, and I wouldn't care about anything. But I just want to talk to people who deal with that, because I feel like maybe it's a boy, but in my head I'm just feeling like there's a girl gonna watch this who's dealing with anger, and maybe you're a pastor's kid, maybe you're not, but it's like it's super lonely, and you just feel like people don't understand that you're just aggressive and you're passionate about your feelings, but it just looks like you're mad all the time. So I would say I haven't figured it all out, but just don't turn off your emotions as much as they hurt. Don't turn off your emotions. Learn how to deal with them. Learn how to express them, however that looks. Maybe it's not with your parents to talk to them. Maybe you need to go to therapy. I don't know. Maybe you need, I don't know what you need, because I don't know all the answers myself. But I would just say, do your best to not isolate yourself, because that just puts you deeper into a hole. I did that for all of high school, and I'm now having to deal with it, a lot of heaviness now. And it's worth dealing with it, but it hurts when you just put off your pain for so long. So don't do it alone. It sounds so cheesy, but you can't do it alone. And just like be open about, I might look like I'm so angry all the time, and I am, but different emotions are fueling it. It's not just I'm mad. It's I could be sad or whatever. I might not have explained that the best, but if you deal with it, I'm sure you'll understand it.